Sidelines with Rob Browne.
Okay.
Talk sporty
Billy
to me.
Okay, Frank Duffy. Frank and Doug need the link. All right, good morning. Our town of the day is Levesque, Arkansas, up on Crowley's Ridge. Population 73. 73 citizens. It's the home of JB's Steakhouse up on the ridge. It's another world up there. We might get 3 inches of snow. They get 7. 700 feet above Crowley's Ridge. The Ridge Runners, they call them. So everybody in Levesque, yeah, doggy. It's going to be a great day, folks. Got a great lineup. Hadn't even started drinking my coffee yet. But we've got Frank Duffy somewhere in North Georgia, I would imagine, at Big Canoe or something like that. Doug Dean at his place down at Lake Martin before he heads to the plains of Auburn. And Billy Roberts, Brookhaven Billy, will join us live from LaGrange. That Out on LaGrange, great song by ZZ Top. Billy Roberts will be joining us. Hour number 2, Dave Tompkins will join us from Beaufort, South Carolina, over in the Low Country at his chalet as he gets ready for the Black Knights of the Hudson, West Point Army. They're heading to Baton Rouge today to play LSU. And if y'all seen the camo pattern that those folks at Baton Rouge have done, this is really cool in honor of our soldiers in the Army. And that's going to be a great, fun game tonight. I don't know how fun it'll be for Army, though, once they kick it off, but it'll be a hell of an honor to play them. And also in hour number 2, we'll be joined in the final 30 by one of our young interns, Oakley McFerrin, from over in Chattanooga before they head down to Auburn for the game tonight. So lot to cover today. Want to say this. We do this 25 times a month, over 300 shows a year. Repetition is the mother of all skill. That's what we do. You want to be good at something, you got to practice it a lot. Get your best guests. I promised the I think that game-wise today, there are a lot of good games, but it's not a packed weekend. We've had some really good weekends here lately. I guess the marquee game of the day, CBS always likes to think they have the marquee game. I think they do today. Tennessee and Alabama. It's the 3rd Saturday in October. That'll be a fun one in Tuscaloosa. You've got 2 of the top 4 teams in the nation with sacks, tackles for losses, and all like that. So they'll be kicking off 3:30 p.m. Eastern from Tuscaloosa. Last year, Tennessee broke a 15-game streak, 15 straight years. First time they'd ever beaten a Nick Saban team at Alabama. They broke the streak. I think the game today is going to be a close game. I think it's going to go down. 4th quarter, you got 2 defensive fronts like Tennessee and Alabama do. It's going to come down to turnovers. Which team blinks first in the 4th quarter? So we'll have our picks as we go along today on all kinds of games. Already got a question. I'm going to go ahead and put this one up there under comments. Larry in Memphis, what are the round tables top 5 picks for today? All right, and we'll get to that. But I'll say, game-wise, Arkansas hosts Mississippi State. This is their first home game, I believe, since September 16th when they lost to BYU, and that kind of started the slide, 5 straight losses for the Razorbacks. And I know the folks over in Levesque, Arkansas, don't like hearing that. They've got black ribbons tied around oak trees over there in mourning. They're ready for the Razorbacks to win. There's one guy MJ saw this morning, buck naked, sitting up on a billboard in Levesque, said he's not coming down till the Hogs win. So it's been 42 days. He's been up there on that grain bin over there. His name is J. Rodney Scroggins Jr. the third. That's kind of a strange name. He's a junior and the third. I don't know how that happened, but he's from the Ridge. But we're going to have Frank Duffy is on with us right now. And Frank, we're saluting our town of the day, Levesque, Arkansas. We just said, who are we going to salute? Population 73 over here in Cross County, up on Crowley's Ridge. And I'm talking about J. Rodney Scroggins Jr. the third is up on a billboard, not coming down, buck naked. He's fasting until the Hogs get a win. Today, they play Mississippi State in a potential loser leaves town or hair match up there in Fayetteville. But I know Jay Rodney would like to come down because soon it will be duck season, and I know he's a big duck hunter.
Well, 42 days of fasting up on a high perch. You better hope a big wind doesn't come by and pick him up. I hope he got him a little winter fat on him, keep him centered up there. Yeah, look, I think it's going to be a tough game for Arkansas again today. Mississippi State is always a tough out, right? I think Arkansas, I think sadly the shine on the Pittman era has certainly run off a little bit. I think they caught some bad luck early in the streak, but I hope he's not losing the locker room. Because they love him so much there, and he's such a great fit for Arkansas. That I just hope that they're not losing it. Chris Saxon is a buddy of ours, and his nephew played on the offensive line for the Hogs.
I know, Patrick Kudus.
It'd be interesting to hear. If Chris wants to reach out to us, let us know what he's hearing from it. But Arkansas is too good of a team to have 5 straight losses.
Yeah.
And especially with such a performer at quarterback. KJ Jefferson is just a fabulous athlete. And he and Jaden Daniels, when we played Arkansas, they put on a show, and we were lucky to win that game. We really didn't win it. We just outlasted them. And I think that kind of also put them on a bad spiral. But there's too much talent on that team to have 5 losses, and they got to write it today, or our man will be up there on the silo. The only way he's going to be, handling those ducks or deer is if he jumps off on them and, tackles them. So I hope somebody lifts his gun up to him up there.
Well, Jay Rodney up there, again, it's kind of cold this morning too. We're over here at the farm right now.
Georgia too.
In Parkin. And I know MJ was over at the Walmarts over there at 6 a.m. getting ribs to put up on the smoker. And we always, want that smoker. When they have a new pope, smoke comes from the Vatican. Habemus Papam. Over here we have Habemus Smoke'em ribs.
Hey, there's no white smoke that comes out of a Louisiana guy's smoker. It's cayenne colored, brother.
And our Louisiana guys are coming over. One of them's coming over later today. Another one's coming up next week with 11 of his buddies for speckle belly goose hunting season starts next Saturday. I hopefully we'll be down in Auburn for the Mississippi State game. But I think that our man Jay Rodney, I'm with you. Everybody loves Sam Pittman, but you talk with a lot of Arkansas fans and they'll tell you, that's great. I don't want the guy everybody likes. I want the guy everybody fears, who is winning the games and is got us winning. But look at the losses for Arkansas. They're down. They come back, and they damn near pull it off in Tuscaloosa. They lose 24-21. The A&M game, freakish turnovers, in that one. They're not getting, LSU goes down to the last play of the game.
Kicks the field goal.
Arkansas is so close, Frank.
Yep. No, you're right. That's why I said it. They had some tough losses. The A&M loss was I had them in that game. I thought they should have won that ball game. I really thought it was going to be their year to beat them again in Dallas. The game against us, we just outlasted them. I mean, they in many ways they outplayed us. And then that Alabama game, to get down and to storm back, I really thought they had a shot. And again, like I said, you just don't want them to lose the locker room. You don't want them to, hang their heads. When you've got 5 losses, you're staring down bowl eligibility. you can lose your players, you can lose your program real quick. And Sam Pittman's success early on really set a stage for a lot of optimistic hopes. I mean, Arkansas was coming into the season with high hopes. I didn't really think they were going to leapfrog us or Texas A&M or Alabama or Mississippi, but I did think they were going to play better and have a better record at this point.
Well, I think you're right. And Freddie in Tuscaloosa, Jay Rodney will be coming down off the perch today. Hogs will win. This reminds me of a Tennessee fan that did this in 1988. Tennessee started off with 5 or 6 straight losses, and this guy was up in Nashville doing this. And then, he came down, and they closed out 88 winning games there at the end of the season. And then in 89, they were co-SEC champions along with Auburn and Alabama.
So he's Schuler, and I think roughly around that time.
Yeah. So that would have been 88. No, Heath Schuler came in
89, 90.
90 and 91.
Yeah.
That was Andy Kelly, I think, around that time.
Yeah.
From Ray County, Tennessee. RHEA, Ray County, Tennessee. All right, Frank, let's get to this question here. We're trying to get Doug on. I don't know what's wrong with the link. I think the minders from Beijing may not have liked something we said. I don't know. Who knows? But free speech is alive and well, ardently and fervently.
Go flack from College Station again.
Yeah. God. Woo! See, I'm trying to do those. Man, I tell you what. Casey Goodjohn is listening right now out in Claiborne County, Kentucky. He's probably up in a deer stand. Love this guy. Met him down at Orange Beach back in early September. He was surf fishing down there in the Gulf, not the ocean, but the Gulf. You know a Yankee's in town when you're down at Orange Beach or 30A or Destin, and they say, let's go to the ocean. Oh, that right there, you're not drinking with me, son. I'm sorry. Hey, how about the new set in the background? You see that?
I love it. Yeah, I love that. I love that, for the SEC, the new SEC across the South. I love it.
Yeah. Now, look, that is my friend Barnwood Brenda in Batesville that makes these. And if a fella is inclined, and let me wait till we get Doug on here. Doug from Lake Martin, my new SEC set in the background, if you can see it, I need to get a feature light on it. But Barnwood Brenda made this for me in Batesville. They've got wood all over the farm, she and her husband. And a friend of mine, when he saw it, thought it was a piece of a big chocolate cake, like a birthday cake. But it's the new SEC map. And do you already notice what's the biggest thing on the map?
Texas.
So when we go to SEC Media Days, I keep asking everybody this. There's going to be a huge welcoming. Texas welcomes, and in small print, the
Oklahoma.
SEC.
Yeah. And Oklahoma, you come too.
Yeah, that's right. Doug Dean is on with us right now at Lake Martin, one of the most beautiful places you can go in America, Merika. Doug, we got the new SEC set in the background.
Nice.
And I'm telling you, my guest yesterday, Chris Lee from the Southeastern 14 up in Nashville and Vandy Rivals, said, where could a fella get one of those? So he wants one. So I'm going to have him one made. And Brenda and her husband were out searching for wood yesterday to make that happen. But these are really, really cool.
Now, is that Batesville, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, or Georgia? We all got one.
No, that's Batesville, Mississippi. And
all right, so we got 5 of them.
Well, it's like Springfield, for Doug.
That's right.
About 30 miles northeast of Intercourse, Alabama.
Yes, which is near Eclectic too, I think.
Where when you're coming, you're going.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, can you give me just a minute with Duff, the great Duff?
Oh yeah.
All right, Duff. First of all, I've got a thank you, a compliment, and then I got a bone to pick. Wipe that damn LSU grin off your face. Y'all, after having it so easy with Auburn, now I know y'all are saying, and I would too. We're just gonna have no trouble the rest of the way, right? It's just not, but it's not that kind of year. But I want to thank Rob and Duff and his lovely wife Rhonda for a delightful lunch and time at Galatoire's. We can say it now so your adoring fans won't flock the place. That was delightful. It was only interrupted, Rob, by not one but two apparent either sorority parties or maybe wedding parties. The bridesmaids commandeering the entire restaurant, and they had a Barbie, the movie that am not going to see, but I'm aware of a Barbie theme. So we were ushered into another room happily. But so a thank you, and on a later show, Rob, you got to ask Duff to talk about what they are working on, which is to be trained to be falconers. Can you imagine that he's already a dangerous man, and you arm him with a trained falcon that follows command and is hungry? And so compliment to the LSU tailgating throng. They really know how to do tailgating, Duff. And then my complaint is that LSU, Rob, is resorting to new tactics on game day. We had brilliant seats, which I wish we didn't, given the product that I was looking at from an Auburn standpoint. And I go up to grab a cold beer. Props to LSU for offering that option. And there was a sweet, lovely young woman in an LSU shirt. And I'm walking by and she stops me and says, "Roll Tide."
Oh, that's wrong.
I mean, come on. At least if you're going to roll Tide my ass in Baton Rouge,
that's
at
wrong,
least
Rob.
Wear the crimson colors, lady. So this is new psychological warfare, Rob, that the LSU fans have resorted to.
I don't claim her at all. She took a wrong, like Bugs Bunny used to say in the Looney Tunes. She took a wrong turn at Albuquerque and bought that sweatshirt on the way in. That is absolutely not the case.
In all seriousness, you hope that as you get a little mileage on you, and you hopefully keep some perspective. I could not lose those 2 days in NOLA and Red Stick. I couldn't lose because I got to hang out with great people like Frank Duffy and his wife, and a lot of other really fine, friendly, spirited, putting it mildly, LSU fans, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But I also got to see a team that, especially, you got to start with the offensive side of the ball, that has figured out the modern game of college football. And it is a beautiful thing to watch. You hate to do it in the context of your own team looking like they took football back 30 years. But and y'all look like you might have started to find a little defense, Duff.
Well, the defense started to play better in Missouri. They figured out a few things. They figured out where to put Harold Perkins Jr. and leave him the hell alone so that he could, terrorize quarterbacks, terrorize backfields. In other words, let's stop over monkeying with something. Just leave it be. The defense line, Pete Jenkins, he must be 110. God love him. Whatever he did, they started playing much better. I think going from the 3-ish 4 to the strong 4-3 with Harold Perkins on the outside 2 weeks ago has paid dividends. I think that was a positive move. The cornerbacks are starting to play better. As you know, when you get your cornerbacks from the transfer portal, and all of them were from the transfer portal, sadly, we lose Brooks because of his cancer diagnosis and his ongoing treatment now early in the year. Prayers for that young man. He's in the hearts of every LSU fan out there. When you have that, it takes about 6 games for a secondary to start gelling. And I think they're starting to gel, which is giving the upfront more time to put pressure. Now, we're going to see a lot of that, with all due respect to our gallant opponent coming in, the Black Knight of the Hudson, Army coming in tonight, who, by the way, we are honoring by painting our end zones camouflage colored with the LSU logo. It is going to be camouflaged, and we are standing ovation for the Black Knights as they take the field. After that, they're on their own as they would want it. They would not want any quarter given, but we will give them a standing ovation when they enter the field, as we should. But looking down the road at that game in Alabama in Tuscaloosa, I think having the defense playing well, better. I won't say well, better. But the offense is, of course, where our bread is buttered. And Jaden Daniels, for you to say those comments, Doug, I'm almost shocked when you say them, because of all the years that I had to endure less miles and 3 yards in a cloud of dust and stupidity and the wasting of round one NFL talent all over the offense, to have it now to where even after the GOAT and the greatest wide receiving core I think college football has ever seen, and the greatest season, and a hell of a running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who might go down in the Pantheon as one of my favorite Tigers, to come back with an offense that is literally this far away statistically from what Joe Burrow and the 2018 team did. It's amazing. Jaden Daniels is a remarkable athlete. The fact that he put on 15 pounds of muscle shows you the kid was working hard in the offseason to craft. And I'm telling you, I think he's going to be in New York. I don't know if he wins it, but I think he has every right to be up there for the Heisman for what he's done. And let me tell you, the way our defense played in the first 5 games of this year, he's the reason why we have the record. Him and a couple of people on the offense and an offensive line that's starting to gel. It was not the defense. What might carry us the second half, to your point, Doug, is the defense is getting better.
Yeah, and you need a little luck in college football, and y'all endured pretty much a gauntlet. Even that road trip to Mizzou, that's underrated as a difficult game on the road. And so now you've got, and by the way, this is my hot take. I think Army has greater offensive production tonight than Auburn did, which is not a high bar. But then you get an open day. It sets up beautifully. Meanwhile, Crimson Tide has to play a pretty physical out Tennessee defense today. Rob, I'm going to let you chime in. We've been excluding you, sorry. But Larry in Memphis wants us to weigh in on the Roundtable's top 5 picks today. I'll start that, and y'all can chime in. I'm going to leave the SEC. I got a feeling that the team that we're going to be talking about next week is going to be Penn State, not a bunch of others across the landscape.
I think it's an interesting call. That they got to go. It's at Ohio State. It's going to be that's a tough place to play in the shoe. I went to the shoe for a Michigan Ohio State game, and that's a tough place to play. But I think if this is the year that Penn State's going to knock off Ohio State, I think they've got the talent to do it. I think it's going to be a really close ball game. I think it could go down to a kick at the end. I think Penn State with the points is a good play.
I would also, setting sports hate aside, I just have a feeling Alabama makes another big step, and
I do too.
I like Tennessee. It's amazing that you'd say the name Josh Heupel, word association, and the first thing we would all think of is scoring in 2 or 3 plays on these deep verts, and damn if Tennessee doesn't lead the SEC in rushing. And I'm not sure that's what Heupel prefers. I don't think the Vol fans I've talked to don't really trust their QB throwing the ball. I can certainly relate to that. But I just think Alabama's going to be too much for them, and you see Milroe take another step in being a more complete quarterback. I like Alabama in that one.
Rob, I think you might say, and again, we were talking about that, Jalen Milroe looked like he was starting to have settled feet the last couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Really that Arkansas game, I think he's played much better. Which made it even more impressive that Arkansas came back, but I think that was more of an issue against their offense, against KJ Jefferson against Alabama's defense. But I think Jalen Milroe is starting to settle into a comfortable spot for Nick Saban. And when Nick Saban has a comfortable quarterback who has talent, and look, that guy's got great wheels and he can chuck it, man. He's got a great arm. I think Alabama has probably had the best week of practice. I don't have any insight, but knowing Nick Saban and knowing what happened last year, I will tell you, Alabama is ready for this game, and Tennessee better be ready. And Tennessee just does not have that sharpness, that crispness that they had last year. They just don't.
All right, and it's going to be. I think it's going to boil down. I'm waiting to see what Wilson, my son over in Charlotte, man, we were coming into this weekend, we were at 71% on the year. He uses he works for, investment banking world, is, doing analytical stuff and analysis of companies. And we've been doing this since he was a kid. So I'm looking forward to see what he says. I've been texting. Thank y'all for carrying this. Y'all keep going. I've been texting with our good friend, Chef Roger Watson. He's going to try to join us about 9:15 this morning. So get your pen and paper handy. We'll talk some food. I said, Cajun Man and Doug are on, and they love you. And Dave Tompkins is going to join us in the second hour from over in Beaufort, South Carolina. Of course, he a West Point graduate, a native of Mountain Brook, Alabama fan, but his true love for the Black Knights of the Hudson.
Me and Dave are going to be going head to head the next 2 out of the next 3 weeks.
I know it's going to be fun. But I think, Doug, I want to go back to what you said. I mean, and here's a comment. There's a bunch of comments coming in. I'm just trying to get them in as they come in on my phone. But I like this. Any guy from Birmingham must be familiar with a Roll Tide in strange places with an Auburn shirt on. I mean, a foreign country comes to mind.
Oh yeah, it's so strange, and I'm not aware of any other fan base that experiences this oddity. But rival fans not named Alabama Crimson Tide, a proud program, obviously, they think that the biggest taunt you can give an Auburn person is Roll Tide. And it doesn't register with me, but if they think that, more power to them. I would, I'm more impacted by them referring to something like an overrated chant at the end of a blowout game.
Yeah, I remember coming. Yeah.
Well, that's why I got to challenge her lineage. How in the hell, if you're an LSU fan and you were here and witness Nick Saban bring us a national championship and then decide to get on Wayne Huizinga's plane to go to Miami and drop a big ostrich egg in the NFL and come back and his arrival back in college football is on the tarmac in Tuscaloosa, kissing big-breasted women and babies that are dressed in houndstooth. And then going on and winning my 6 national championships for a team that was a Mike Shula dumpster fire. How in the living hell can you ever say the words Roll Tide? I don't care if it's to an Auburn guy, Mississippi State guy, or to the Dalai Lama. There's no way. Yeah. So she ain't an LSU fan.
I sense a little historical hostility, Frank. You're 100%.
I'm getting better.
Much better.
I think what you're saying is that, and I love the Gen Zs and all the new generation of kids. I love them on many levels. They're so high tech. They're cool. They probably have more balance in their work and non-work life than we ever had. All we did was work. But having said that, there's a strange way that they go about socializing, especially around college football game day. And I think that what happened, she was a younger lass. And I think the psychology of it was, well, I want my friend who invited me to a game. I don't have anything else to do in Baton Rouge. I want her to feel comfortable that I'm wearing their colors. But it didn't restrain her from telling an innocent Auburn man going to get a beer, Roll Tide.
Unbelievable.
I'm not bothered by it. I found it hilarious more than anything else. Welcome.
By the way, the only time that I've ever uttered the words, I kid you not, Roll Tide. It was the only time I ever did it. I was so compelled to do it. It was the night of the Garth Brooks concert in Tiger Stadium. This was a summer and a half ago. When we were going in there was 100. The floor was filled. There was like 130,000 people in there, all waiting to hear him do "Calling Baton Rouge." And I even have a picture of this guy and his wife in my phone. And we were going up the escalator. I was up in the upper deck, and I had to take a picture of this guy because I was so impressed with his courage. It was kind of like me wearing my LSU gear at the Georgia-Alabama game, but it was right after we won the national championship in 2020 during the COVID shutdown where there weren't that many people there. I went to that game in all my purple and gold. I caught more hell than the law allowed, right? But hey, I had the high ground. I had the greatest team in college football. It just finished up, right? It had a national championship, beating them in that stadium. But this guy had the stones to come walking into Tiger Stadium with 130,000 people with Bama gear all on. And I just walked up to him. I said, I'm impressed, my man. Roll Tide. And I because I was like, I'm impressed by you that you did that. I'm impressed.
Hey, Rob, here I sit, your resident Aubie, Barner, what do they call us, Bugs?
They call it Aubies and Barners. And of course, we have names for them too.
I've embraced all the Barner side of it, man. When you criticize Auburn for agriculture research, next time you have a 5-star meal, just
no kidding.
Yeah.
Hey, these Gen Zs and millenniums think they get their food from this food comes from the supermarket.
Yeah. Hold these thoughts, guys. We've got to take a quick commercial break. And I agree with you, Doug. Great quote someone told me one time. Don't talk bad about farmers with your mouth full, boy.
Damn right.
So, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to be right back. Got Frank Duffy in Big Canoe, North Georgia. Doug Dean, Lake Martin. We're over here in Cross County, same county as J. Rodney Scroggins Jr. III, 42 straight days up on a billboard. He's fasting, Doug, since the Hogs. He's not coming on. He ain't coming down till the Hogs win. So we'll be right back. Got an hour and a half to go. More sidelines after this quick commercial message.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am R.A. Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
I'm back with Frank Duffy, the missing man. I don't know where he is now, but Doug Dean, God, it looks gorgeous down there at Lake Martin. And by the way, we got guys over here this right now building boat blinds. Good Lord, hunting season is upon us. Good Lord, that looks so beautiful in the background. Lake Martin, it's coming up on the 100th anniversary. Doug, definitely want to get your thoughts on this Auburn Ole Miss game tonight, 6 p.m. kickoff at the Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Yeah, well, it's certainly it's not the headliner, but the networks thought enough of this game, especially in this Jordan-Hare night environment, to give it a 6 p.m. kickoff, which is that's a gift to I hope Coach Freeze, I know he understands that the strategic gift that is nighttime in Jordan-Hare when it's a game that means a little bit, doesn't mean a lot. It means a lot to Ole Miss. I mean, they're still playing something big, and credit Coach Kiffin and that whole team, everybody involved with it, turning it around. The farther we get from that Ole Miss win over LSU, in which I don't think there was a single punt in the game. Was there, Rob?
I don't think there was.
There may have been one or two, but it's long forgotten. But that game, that win by Ole Miss looks better and better the farther we get from it. But here's some of the subplots that fascinate me, and I'm sure that the announcers will talk about on air tonight. it's a fact that Lane Kiffin the ink had not dried, but it was close to drying on a tentative contract for Lane Kiffin to head over to the Plains and coach Auburn. I think in terms of fit, I think Kiffin's a pretty good fit at Ole Miss. I don't mean that as anything other than a compliment. They seem to embrace how he coaches. They don't seem to flip out like I think Auburn people would if he follows the analytics and wants to go on 4th and 5 at his own 20. As long as he wins, and he's putting it together there, and they've looked awfully good. They just had an open date, if I remember, Rob. So that they should come into Jordan-Hare ready to just pick up where they left off in that game against LSU. Meanwhile, so there, you could say there is some intensity. I'm trying to find the right word. Not resentment, nothing approaching revenge, but probably some distancing of the Auburn faithful. As in some ways, maybe Auburn people will tend to want to think of Kiffin as riding in on a black horse. Ole Miss fans will think of him as a white knight. Flip that around. Hugh Freeze, to me, people ask the question, is it emotional for him to play Ole Miss? I don't get that. I think that would be sort of manufactured. I don't think it's been so long since he was at Ole Miss. Plus, Hugh's got to be fair. The reason he was not fired unjustifiably from
Yeah,
Ole Miss.
exactly.
I mean, chances of his departure were completely self-inflicted, and I think Hugh would be the first to admit that. I think Auburn Ole Miss does going forward, sort of, as long as these two coaches are there, Kiffin and Freeze. I think it does become a more intense game that people look forward to than it would be otherwise. But you know what I don't want, Rob? I don't want Ole Miss to become Hugh Freeze's obsessive game like Gus Malzahn obsessed about Arkansas.
Yes.
We got bigger. Nothing against Ole Miss, but historically, Auburn dominates that series and frankly should dominate it when we're taking care of business. There'll be years where Ole Miss is just better. But if you just go by history, Ole Miss should not be regularly beating Auburn. So we'll see it's a little interesting that any team, if they're not a top 10 team, comes into Jordan-Hare at night a 6.5 point favorite.
Well, look, let me just say real quick, talking about embracing all the nicknames of Auburn. How about this? See? That's the Cal College wear. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I love that guy. And you get it at the locker room down there in Auburn. But I want to say this. Historically speaking, Ole Miss has not beaten Auburn I think, if I'm correct, since back-to-back, since 1951-52. That was the first and second year of Shug Jordan taking over at Auburn. In the series since 1892, and they hadn't played every year, Ole Miss has beaten Auburn 11 times. That equates to 1 win every 12 years. The 3 wins that they have at Jordan-Hare, and the first time they ever won there was in overtime when Corey Peterson, wide receiver from Germantown High School, played for Ole Miss, caught the ball in overtime because Auburn couldn't get a first down because they didn't have a running back over 5'6" on that first team. And then 2000, Rudy Johnson took care of that. But you look at, they beat Auburn in 03. That win in 03 was Ben Obamanu, the ball hit him right in the numbers. And then they had one more chance. They didn't get it. And then they beat him in 2015 with Hugh Freeze. And that one went to the wire. It's a tough place to play. This is a good Ole Miss team. But Auburn does, I think, understand they got to get a win. Go ahead.
Does welcome back, Duff. Was 03, I sat in the south end zone. I think that was the tragic Ben Obamanu drop.
Yeah, it was.
And props to Eli Manning. They fought hard, and Auburn really could have closed that one out. But 2003 was a miserable year anyway. The Insminger offense never made sense.
Y'all had that too for a while. Y'all had, hey man, that's the problem with those coaches that shuttle around. We all get a taste of it.
Yeah, and Duff, you know something is not right when your head coach, a brilliant OC, leaves the program. He's been lighting it up, and the coach, loyalty to one of his buddies, says, Well, it's all going to be fine. Bobby Petrino let me keep a copy of his playbook. What could possibly go wrong? My offensive line coach and this sort of retread quarterback coach, they're going to study that Petrino playbook, and everything will just keep rolling like we always have. Baloney.
Yeah.
So,
Way.
Rob, here's if you want to play 10-dimensional chess with some of these big games, make you a little chart of the potential top 10 or 15 head coaches. I'd put Kiffin on that list. And again, he's got to be a hit. I'd put Dan Lanning. I don't care if Oregon. I did not like Lanning going at 4th and 3, giving Washington the ball back. I thought that was coaching malpractice when they had the lead. They should have won it. But he figured, well, I'm going to put the game in Bo Nix's hands, and that's football. But Dan Lanning would be on my list. The Elko at Duke. You can't put Kirby Smart on there because there's no circumstance by which he's leaving Georgia. It's his alma mater. He can do anything he wants at Georgia. But look at the list of coaches that in some ways are building a resume to be on the short list. This is the 3D chess, the short list at Alabama that Saban can't coach to 90 for God's sake. And I think he's probably, 2 to 5 years tops.
I think closer to 2.
Yeah, and then if Lanning goes somewhere, an Oregon job is unbelievable because they're going to the Big Ten. So, and I could list 6 or 8 places that are going to open up through firings or retirements. So these games go beyond who's going to win, what does it do to the SEC standings and the playoff consideration. But if Kiffin can win tonight, he sets up a situation where he just needs a little bit of – he's got the head-to-head tiebreaker with you guys, Duff.
Yeah,
so, Ole Miss this could very well be the shocker year that they make it to Atlanta. I would right now bet on LSU.
Well, we're holding hopes that you guys upset them, and then they still got to play Georgia if memory serves.
Mm-hmm.
So that would shock me if that's the one Georgia loses in the 3-year season run. That would shock me.
All right. Oscar the Grouch in Utah, Alabama, EUTAW. That's over in the Black Belt, Greene County, I think. The Tide will roll the Vols by 20. Agree or disagree? Oscar the Grouch. You got to love him.
I agree they win. I think it's because of Tennessee's really salty defensive front. I think it'll be a little closer than that. I think 20 is a little strong.
Yeah, 10 to 14, I think was where I'd see it.
What's the line, Duff?
What is it? It's like 7, right? 6 or 6.5.
Yeah.
7.
That's
and I'm getting, we have a few guys that make wagers over here at the Cherry Farm. I mean, and it's fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun making the wagers, but Tennessee, I think this game is going to be fun. If you look at it from a strategic standpoint, their defensive front and Alabama's defensive front, those are 2 of the top 4 in the nation.
Yeah.
With tackles for loss and sacks.
The bet's really honestly, the bet is the under, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. It's going to come down to whoever blinks first. I mean, I think that's going to be a good. And Doug, I want to add on to what you said. This is you're right about Kiffin, and you're also right about Freeze. He cannot fixate in on Ole Miss. Auburn, and I even said this. I know it sounded like lunacy when Auburn was beating Alabama 6 years in a row with Tuberville. I said, look, you better be focusing on LSU and Georgia. Go back 10, 11 years ago, or maybe 12 years, Auburn had a 7-game lead in the Georgia series. And it's interesting, if you look at history, it's Savant Saturday. Wait till Dave Tompkins gets on here with us. It'll really be crazy. But in the 50s, Auburn won that decade against Georgia, the series. The 60s, Auburn won. The 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Auburn won every one of those. It may have been 5-4-1 or 6-4, occasionally a 7. But then when Mark Richt came to Georgia in 2001 from Florida State, it changed. In the 2000 to 2009, Auburn was 4-6. 2010 to 2019. Remember, Auburn played Georgia twice in 2017.
Yeah.
Auburn 3-8 against Georgia. And in this millennium, and for those of you that live in Water Valley, Mississippi, that means in this century, Auburn's 0-4. Now, does Georgia still consider Auburn a rival? To borrow from Jack Nicholson when he was being cross-examined by Tom Cruise and a few good men, you're damn right. Yes, it's a rivalry. But it's when it comes to recruiting, Auburn's got to get a win and do well. But it's a border. Lee County, Alabama is on the Georgia border. But you got LSU, and now you're going to have to bring in Texas and Oklahoma. I'm with Doug, as he always does, both of y'all. That's why I love it when y'all are on, because I got so many questions coming in, and I'm not typing them all. And thank you for all of y'all that are listening and watching. I cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. And again, Chef Roger is going to be on. My good friend who worked for Gordon Ramsay for 8 years. He said, most people only last one night, and that's all they can take of the man.
Rob, if y'all will zoom out with me to the bigger picture across the whole country with college football. Someone said,
that's exactly what I want to do.
Someone said, Duff, we were tailgating, and these personal injury attorneys had this big blow-up, bouncy concoction that was probably 60 feet high. Someone said that normally at the tailgate they have a stripper pole, and I just didn't touch that comment.
I know exactly which one, the Dudley DeBosier one. I know exactly where it is.
Talk about, and you would think they'd be worried about the liability of that.
On multiple fronts. That's over by y'all are over by the Indian mounds.
Yeah, but the smart LSU fans, by the way, are the ones I got to interact with. Very high football IQ, and I appreciate. But the comment was made. Damn it! This would be the perfect year that we desperately need a 12-team playoff.
Yes.
We really do. Somebody in the SEC is going to get screwed.
Yep.
On the political distribution of power, where they got to have 2 or 3 conferences minimum, get their best team in, and you're going to have, I don't know whether it'll be LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, maybe Georgia. Let's not. Georgia's got a surprisingly tough November since they're going into it without
Missouri. I think they still have left. Ole Miss,
Ole Miss. Right. Is it Tennessee?
Still got Tennessee.
So, and Georgia. I'll say this: if Kirby Smart rallies his guys and his next man up, and they run the table, honestly, even if they just lose one regular season, Kirby should be considered coach of the year.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah.
They run the table and win another one? Absolutely. Because this year was a lot different. They lost a lot of talent. Look, when you're doing it in the third season, it ain't luck. It ain't happenstance. Surprisingly, the knock always on Georgia has been, it's been such an easy run in the East. Well, not now. You've got Missouri having a good year. Florida's having a little bit of, rebound of a year. Tennessee's resurgent. So that comment about, going through the little sisters of the poor, and it's not there anymore. So he wins it this time. Absolutely. He gets all the kudos in the world.
You know what?
He should.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. No, I was going to say he should get it. And both of y'all are right. It's not as easy as you think to coach a super talented team. Ask parents of 4 or 5 kids that have $1 billion fortune trying to instill in them a work ethic. I mean, that's a crazy metaphor to use. And I know I'm with 2 guys that are word scholars and wordsmiths, but it's difficult to take a lot of talented players and get them all to be unselfish and to realize, hey, sometimes you help the team by stepping back.
And you're
talking to a type A, OCD, ADHD guy, but I've been told by some smart people before, you got to slow down to get faster. And I understand now what they mean. And y'all just said it.
And Rob, go ahead, Doug.
Well, I was just going to quickly say, a friend of mine said, which as I reflected on, this was just ahead of the Georgia coming to Jordan-Hare, which proved to, I thought Auburn would fight them. I was surprised that Auburn actually could have won, maybe should have won the game, but, Brock Bowers did Brock Bowers things. That my friend said, the Georgia I'm watching, they just look a little bored. You've won 2 straight national championships.
Yes.
And these 18, 19-year-old players, bored might not be the perfectly precise word, but you get what he was trying to convey, that maybe it's just
distracted.
Kirby screams at them, or they challenge them, trying to get them to believe that people don't respect you, which is laughable. They're number 1 team in the nation. And but they're bored, and also you get this security blanket that if you're ever in trouble on 3rd and long, you just throw it in the general direction of Brock Bowers, and he'll make a one-handed catch. Well, now that they don't have that, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing if Carson Beck, he needed the pacifier, the security blanket of Bowers to get them safely through Jordan-Hare, which, they were not quite ready for the shock and awe. It's just Auburn didn't have enough elite players. But now, since he can't throw to Bowers, Beck will have no choice but to distribute the ball more evenly, and it might add up to them having more element of surprise.
Yep, and being more battle tested for when they get into the playoffs. And look, Kirby has done this. Kirby has got these guys playing, and they do play unselfishly. They might be a little distracted, but they're an unselfish team, at least from what I can tell as an outsider looking. But here's the thing. Keep in mind, he's got some issues with that team off the field. So I think that makes it his work of making them gelled into a non-selfish team on the field even more impressive. I mean, they're not exactly choir boys over there, right? With some of the knuckleheaded stuff that they're doing, right?
Amen.
So for Kirby to keep them in check is pretty impressive.
Well, it is. And you talk about it when you're winning, and both of y'all know this, it can be that way in business. You can be doing a lot of great sales, and if you're not careful, you forget to do the things that got you there in the first place. Complacency is the downfall. We all know the quote, Rome burned while blank.
Yeah, well, Nero fiddled. And
that's right. I've heard that a million times from my dad.
It came from within, not from without.
Yeah, it absolutely. It's the idiots. It's the enemies within and the useful idiots that always take you down. All right, I got some picks, man. We got a bunch of stuff. Let me get started. Gordon Gecko in Mountain Brook. Wonder if he ever eats at Bricktop. By the way, that is a great place if you like seafood. Bricktop there in 280 there in Mountain Brook. Clemson at Miami. 2 going south and why? I kind of paraphrased it because it was a long question. Okay, Clemson. Dabo's not adapting to the portal, to NIL. Clemson is giving up a lot of ground they worked hard to make. Miami, how do they mess that up? Doug, start with your thoughts on who wins that game today, because this should be a top 5, top 10 matchup based on what all they have going for them. But it's not.
Cristobal, gosh, he was, speaking of coaches who were inches away from being the Auburn head football coach, Cristobal was coming. He was on the way when we ended up hiring Potato Head. Cristobal's team at the 12th hour made it into their conference championship, and he was not going to leave the boys to play that one without their head coach.
Yeah,
Auburn couldn't wait. Now I think, if we don't put this in buy, hold, or sell, Rob, I would put Cristobal on the watch list. He's an outstanding recruiter.
Yeah.
But man, when you can't get the basic textbook of closing out a game, and you don't understand that there's a place for the victory formation and taking a knee, that's bad optics.
He's got a Les Miles memorial bust sitting on his desk right now, because that was dumb.
Well, and head coaches they will be the first to tell you players generally win games.
Not that one.
So I think there are coaches. I'm gonna put Dabo. I don't care if he's got two national championships to his credit, but to me, you can put coaches in a couple of categories and probably 10 categories. What I have in mind is there are coaches who are they've put the machinery together to their credit, and they are going out and acquiring elite talent. They're recruiting top 4 or 5 year after year. You stack that up 2 or 3 years in a row, that will overcome a multitude of coaching sins of incompetence. I think Dabo's a little close to that. I don't think Dabo is himself a football savant, but then there are coaches, I could name a handful, that just really know how to work it in game, and they can take B- talent and on a given day get them to play with great fire, great motivation. Coach Dye was that way. Dye rarely had the most elite talent against. If you look at that '83 season, we couldn't stay on the field with Texas with that team. Of course, it helps to have Bo Jackson, but the most elite talent Dye rarely had. But he could. These boys, they would feel like they're fighting for the Auburn family, and this is like the Berlin Wall coming down.
Yeah,
so I think I think he lived off of Brent Venables as a coordinator and some great quarterbacks, but I think Dabo's like Cristobal. I think they're on the watch list.
Well, and Rob, I also lived off of his recruiting. He did. Dabo has kind of refused to play the portal game. Not kind of. I mean, he's refused. He
doesn't like it. Yeah, you're right.
All right, and so he's kind of painting himself in a corner. He would be disingenuous if he started playing it, but he better start playing it because everybody else is.
And
I agree with you.
If you need a data point, and I hate that you got good Clemson fans listening, prove us wrong, man. Because Clemson's a proud program, and they would kick Auburn's rear right now. So
they would.
But
let me say this.
Wait a minute. Here's a data point. Ask any Alabama fan, do they want Dabo on the short list following Saban? You won't get a yes.
No anymore. Yeah, no anymore.
No. Let me throw this one out there.
That wasn't the case 5 years ago, I can tell you.
No, it was not. Mario Cristobal is on the Darwin Award watch list.
There you go.
You know what the Darwin – I mean, because when you lose a game the way they did, you deserve to be hammered.
All right.
And y'all are right. And I'm going to tell you something about these. We got a bunch of games. And let me just throw some picks at y'all. And Dave Tompkins on from Beaufort, not Beaufort, Beaufort, South Carolina, like Beaufort T. Justice. What do you want for lunch there, Beaufort? I'll have a Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper.
Daddy, they knocked the top off our car. No.
And a low country boil, if you don't mind.
That's right. Hey, all right, let me throw some things real quick. We're about at the top of the hour. I love this, having y'all on here because we're covering, and Dave is a proud alumnus of West Point, the Black Knights of the Hudson. There we go.
Dave, 31-point underdogs, or 32 and a half now, I think.
There we go.
Hey, all I can tell you is when all y'all's folks show up at the tailgates, you're going to eat well. And Dave, I've got another nice compliment for y'all, another honor for y'all. When y'all hit the field in Tiger Stadium, there will be camouflage LSU logos in the end zone.
It has been all over West Point social media this week. We are extremely grateful.
Good.
We feel like we're getting special treatment, that we're not going to be booed, and we're super grateful about that.
That will not happen. Standing over.
Hey, Dave, I got news for you. I was in Baton Rouge a week ago. There's a chance you'll get booed.
Here's what we're saying. Here's what we're saying. Before kickoff, you are honored. You're our honored guest. You will get a standing ovation. After kickoff, it's every man for himself, as you would want. You would not want any quarter, right?
We don't want any charity. We don't want any charity. Back a few years ago, we took Michigan to double overtime and Oklahoma to overtime. That's not going to happen this year. We're all banged up. We're struggling implementing our new offense. So, hey, I think the kids just want to have some memories tonight. The thought is, there's at least one player on LSU's team who will be in Canton, Ohio. A bunch of them will be in the NFL. So years down the road, when someone's a battalion commander, in the Army, can say, you know what, I tackled that guy that night at Tiger Stadium.
Yeah,
so,
correct.
Absolutely. When you
Dave
play,
got them right where you want them. Auburn gave them a fat head a week ago, and y'all got them right where you.
Yeah. Well, the one thing about Army, if you ever get mad and think your team isn't giving a full effort, you will get a full 60 from Army when they play, or Air Force or Navy, VMI, the Citadel, because that's what's expected. And I think everybody ought to take it, that example.
If you're a linebacker and you're taking a playoff, you're going to have a fullback plant you square in the side.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. I want to say, if you are out and about today, head over to Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas, 45 minutes from Memphis. They've got new Fords, new Toyotas, cars, trucks, and SUVs, and over 700 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs on the lot. They're open Monday through Saturday. Yeah, they're great. 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and they will deliver anywhere. John Dobbs Jr., my friend, is part of the Red River Auto Group. Dobbs family been in the car and truck business in Memphis and all over for a long time. They're back in. They have great people over there. Rusty Howard, Greg Smith on the sales floor, Justin Wynn, the general manager. The service department, again, open 7 a.m. to 12:30 on Saturdays. They will deliver anywhere you live. Check them out. You can do the process on the phone, on the internet, and be done in 20 minutes when you talk to somebody. If you get all that stuff done in advance, it's not that bad. It's actually fun. Everybody I send to go over there buys. They take their vehicles in there for service. Proud to have them as a sponsor. We're going to take this quick break, and we'll be right back with hour number 2. Get your pen and paper handy, because we're going to be doing a lot of picks and a rapid fire. And Chef Roger Watson, my good friend who worked for Gordon Ramsay for 8 years, is going to join us in about 15 minutes for some recipes, or as they call them in some parts of the country, recipes. And we'll be right back.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I'm Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
I'm back here with you, and well, okay, hold on a second. Where did everybody go? We've lost here. It's Frank. We've got Frank, and we've got somebody in the witness protection program. There's Doug, just a circle. Billy Roberts has joined us from LaGrange. Billy, I hope you got that link in the first hour. We had some trouble with the link today. Again, it could be the minders from Beijing listening to us. Hey, if you're listening to us in Beijing, KMA, figured out those initials. Okay, we don't take no crap from nobody. Yeah,
right.
We have free speech over here. Billy, roving correspondent on here. Billy's the one who introduced me to Frank Duffy. They've been friends for over 30 years. And Billy, let's talk about the Braves in the playoffs. Anyway, next topic. God, I'm still frustrated over that one. That one's still driving me crazy. But you were right. That stupid format. The bat's cooled off for a week, and it's bad. All right, let's get going with some picks right now, guys. Let's get kind of a real quick. UT Bama. We got Bama. Is it Bama now -9? That's the latest, Knox. Bama -9. Wow, what does everybody think about that one?
That line jumped. It was like 7 just a day or two ago. That jumped.
It did. It jumped up.
I'm pulling for Alabama, of course, but I like Tennessee in the points. Okay.
Ole Miss, Auburn. Ole Miss -6.5.
Give me the dog.
I'm that, since I'm the Barner on the show. I would not play that one. I mean, because Ole Miss has shown exactly the explosive offense, a little different style than LSU. And granted, it's in Jordan Hare. But if you make me bet, I'm going to fall prey to my own homerism and probably pick Auburn, but maybe not to win, but to keep it in the number. But that's one that's I just don't have a great feel either way for it.
Well, I'm not a homer. I'm not a homer. Give me the 6.5 with an SEC home dog. I'll take it. I'll take Auburn plus the points.
Yeah.
Okay, you're taking Auburn plus the points.
Yep.
Okay. All right, real quick, y'all. We'll do this in it'll take us 3 minutes. Penn State, Ohio State. Ohio State minus 17.5.
Nittany Lions and the points.
All over Nittany's. All over the Nittany line.
Yeah. All right, we got the Nittany Lions and the points. Take Penn State and the points. All right. Air Force versus Navy. Over and under 34. Wow. Over it.
In Service Academy games, the under has won something like 93% of the time.
93% of the time, the under wins, and Service can take the under.
Take the under. And Air Force's Air Force's great quarterback is hurt.
Okay. Utah versus Southern Cal. Southern Cal -7. No Cam Rising.
Where is it played?
In the Coliseum.
Yeah, SC.
USC in a bounce back.
Yeah. I like Southern Cal in that game. Okay. All right. Here's another one. UCF, the Fighting Sweater Vest of Gus Malzahn versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma minus 17.5. And by the way, there will be a nose picking contest in that one as well, since Gus loved to do that on the side.
I'm picking Oklahoma out of sheer hate for Malzahn, not out of any logic. I'm kidding.
I'm going with the sweat and the points.
I love OU. I tell you what, I think OU's going to make it into the playoff, boys.
Well, they're going to
y'all
agree with that.
All right.
Match with the Fighting Sarkeesians.
All right, then look, here's the Fighting Sarkeesians. Here's another one. I do love this one. And Huck in Hannibal, Missouri. It wouldn't be Huckleberry Finn, would it? Damn. Who will win the Battle of Como? That's a good one. Mizzou minus 7.5.
I got to think about that one.
This one's a real thriller, I know.
That's a tough one right there.
Just when you don't think South Carolina can put up a game, they put up a game. So I'll take South Carolina plus the points. I'm a show me guy. Missouri, you got to show me.
I'll take Mizzou in that one, because I'm from Missouri on Shane Beamer. I mean, he's got to show me that he can put a game. He's done it before, but not much this year.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the investor in what's about to be the world's greatest startup, sports tech startup, and go with Mr. Duffy.
Oh, by the way, hang on, just to let you know, I got it right here. I got my Tiger Air, my nice Tiger Air Zephyr. Put it on my hat. Change my hats, and I'm cool as a cucumber, boys.
Cooler heads will prevail. That's what I've always said.
Yeah.
Frank, I'm going to be showing this presentation to 2 qualified, accredited people today or Monday.
Days coming out this week. It's impressive, guys, what they're looking at doing. And look, football is the fun part. That's the sizzle. Where this is really going to be helpful is in military helmets, in industrial helmets, hard hats, safety helmets, motorcycle helmets. And of course, this you can be worn by anybody on any day. I wish I would. These came out in September. The first allotment of these have been going off the shelf. We're going to do about 1.5 million of these sales this year. I wish I had it in Omaha in June when I was sitting there watching LSU win the national championship at Schwab Field. It would have been awesome when it was 100 degrees in the shade and no wind. So thank you for saying that, Dave. I got it right here.
Well, the number one customer should be the visiting team in Baton Rouge tonight.
Yeah.
Well, hey, there is a tent right outside the stadium for Tiger Air. Tell all your brethren, go on over there and get one. It's going to be a little moist tonight.
I will do that. I have a bunch of buddies down there today.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Let me say this. All right. Let's see here. Let me say something. Looking at it, Florida State and Duke. That's Florida State's at home at what Johnny Ballpark Frank's Florida State alum on the show earlier this week said, I'm saying it on this show. We're launching it at the Bowden Campbell Stadium. We want it to be changed. Doak Campbell was a former president of Florida State. I think Bobby Bowden has earned that right to have the stadium named Bowden Campbell Stadium. But anyway, we know this tonight. One of the great night environments for football, one of the best ones that you will see, will be Doak Campbell Stadium, Bowden Campbell tonight, when Chief Osceola rides out on Renegade and throws that spear, flaming spear, in at the 50-yard line. Florida State minus 14 over Duke tonight. Let's get a winner.
Everyone wants to go Duke in the points, but I think the athletic disparity is going to rear its head tonight, and I think Florida State's going to cover.
I think Florida State is another playoff team. I witnessed them in the first game of the season. I will tell you from personal firsthand knowledge, you know how we do the home and home? We played them in New Orleans last year. We played them this year in Orlando. It was about 80% Florida State fans, 20% LSU this year. When Osceola rode out on, Renegade, the horse, and he planted that flaming spear, that place shook. And for me to be impressed by a night environment, even though it wasn't Doak Campbell, it was their home, in essence, a home game, I was impressed. I think Florida State easily covers the 14 tonight against Duke. Duke wakes up and it's midnight and Cinderella leaves the ball.
Doug Dean?
Sorry, I lost y'all for a minute. It was user error on my end.
We like the old view with the lake there. Where'd it go?
My iPhone was overheating, and you know what? It'll tell you can't.
Yes.
Can't use it if it's overheating. So, you know what? Maybe it's just me, but when you hear pundits and fans, above average obsessing fans like us, talk about the teams to watch to make the playoff or win it all, shouldn't we be hearing Florida State more than we are?
Absolutely. Great point.
I would think.
I'm at a point where Norvell and that team deserves more credit than it seems like they're getting.
I totally agree. I watched him those 4 years at Memphis, and when he got to Florida State, I said it's going to take him 3 or 4 years to clean up the dumpster fire that he inherited. People forget the coach that got fired because he created a mess. The guy that comes in, it's like you buying an old house, a fixer-upper. It's going to cost you a lot more, and that big dumpster that they put in your driveway, it's just going to be there for 3 months tops. It's going to be there 9 months or a year later. That's how these rebuilds work. I love getting these great minds. We lost Billy. He was mobile, or the Minders got to him. But so run down real quick, 60 seconds. UT Bama, our consensus pick is Bama today.
I think it's Bama.
Okay. Ole Miss Auburn. We like Auburn as a home dog.
Yes.
Okay. Penn State, Ohio State. We take the Nittany Lions plus 17.5. That's the consensus.
My biggest bet of the day.
Yeah.
Okay. Air Force Navy, 93% of the time, we're taking the under. Utah, Southern Cal, I like Doug. Dead cat bounce, rebound for Southern Cal. They don't play defense, but they'll score so many points, it won't matter. Central Florida versus Oklahoma. The second half, they will have the sweater vest and the nose-picking contest. We're taking Oklahoma. South Carolina, Missouri. I'm with Frank. You know what? There's nothing more deceptive in life than an obvious clue. South Carolina, nobody's giving them a chance.
Could I go back to the contest?
Yeah.
Who wins? The person you're referencing in the nose-picking contest, or Spalding from Caddyshack?
Spalding. No, Gus isn't that. You know who Gus is? He's Spalding grown up.
And by the way, I sat at the Tulane UCF game last year. I sat literally right at the entrance where UCF came out. I could almost see the lint balls on Gus's wool sweater vest. I swear to God.
It was brutal. Okay, so we're taking as the consensus, South Carolina, Missouri. Inquiring minds want to know: do we like South Carolina or Missouri?
I think we're split on that one because Doug likes Mo.
Doug likes Missouri. Dave likes
South Carolina.
Frank likes South Carolina. And I don't think everybody can be right at the same time. I like South Carolina going on the road and doing it. So Duke, Florida State. We like Florida State.
Yep.
All right. And then the last one, Clemson, Miami. I know we talked about it a minute ago. Clemson -3 against Miami on the road at a 1/4 full stadium. So who really has a home field advantage in this one?
Robbie, I'm gonna give the obligatory reminder that not even a couple of months ago, with good reason, we were all organizing the funeral services for the Pac-12, and those are still in order. They're gone, but God Almighty, they're playing the best football, arguably, and it's interesting.
For sure.
Oregon and Washington can both make the case, especially Washington, that they're in perfect position. All they control their own destiny to make the playoff. And I would add, going outside the Pac-12, Texas, there's nothing wrong with the position Texas is in if they just keep winning.
You know what? You're right. Texas is look at the SEC map in the background, folks. I mean, you can't help but see. I feel like the weatherman going, as you look, we have a large cold front sweeping down from the Pacific Northwest. But look at Texas. It's already the biggest thing on the map. Maybe it's because it's orange and it sticks out. But Doug,
do you think some of these conference championships are going to mean something? You better believe it.
Well, I think the game of the year is going to be the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah,
correct.
Whether it'll be probably Washington and whoever, whether they rematch with Oregon or Utah or USC. UCLA's good. It's what a ironic thing for the Pac-12 to all of a sudden wake up once they were declared dead.
Yeah, and Rob, what talk about strange getting back to the South here. This is not probable, but it's not impossible. Imagine, compared to what we were talking about in August, ho-hum, it's Alabama and Georgia. Could still end up being that. Imagine that in Atlanta, we have someone not named Georgia playing Ole Miss for the SEC championship.
Very possible. All one of these East teams has to do is knock them off, and they'd have the tiebreaker if they don't have another loss.
Is Georgia's tight end out for the season?
No,
6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
And here's what I've been told. Again, I'm not a doctor, didn't go to medical school, but the tightrope, it's called a tightrope surgery on his ankle, is the same surgery, I believe, that Tua Tagovailoa had at Alabama. So he was able to come back in that season.
Yes, but a shadow of his former self.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Also, Rob, I'm not sure that a quarterback can, as long as he can plant and make the throws, I think that's a little different than what Brock Bowers needs for his game.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. Tony Barnhart was on with us, I think Thursday, and he said, I can assure you Kirby Smart will not put him back on that field until he is medically able. I mean, again, I don't know Kirby, but I've got some really good friends from Tuscaloosa that knew him for 9 years there, knew him and his wife. They really like him. And I got a ton of respect for these people. And I promise you, they don't say that just to say it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's but you know what? Doug referenced it. You know it, Dave and Frank. The popularity of college football. And Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, referenced it Thursday. And Jackie Sherrill was on with us Wednesday. That was fun because Ben Troop was on in that segment. And he goes, Ben, I used to cuss the hell out of you, man, because we played, they played the Gators several years. And he said, Ben, and so he after that, he goes, can I get Ben's number? I want to talk to him. So that was fun. But Tony Barnhart said, can you imagine a 12-team playoff? And y'all talked about it earlier in this season. Wait till we get to next year in November. The top 25 teams are going to realistically be kind of having that Dumb and Dumber moment. So you're saying there's a chance we get to the college football playoff.
And you know what we're going to do next year? We're going to all be kicking ourselves in the hindquarters for saying, why in the hell did we not do this before now?
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, let me show y'all something. Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. We were out there Thursday with Jim Cherry getting our gear, our logo for our vests and shirts and hats for the Cherry Club, the Cherry Farm Duck Hunting Club. Stuff's going to be incredible. And we've got cups and stickers and stuff, but they've got Filson, the largest order ever, over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's cowboy boots, Old South Devil Dog jeans. They've got what I think is incredible, these duckhead camo long pants that you can wear. They're nice pants. Look at here. They're long pants, and you can wear them with a blazer. And Duckhead now has blazers, and they've got a beer tap back in there with a couple of good Irish beers, and that makes shopping a lot of fun. As Jim Cherry said, you got a cold beer? And he goes, what kind you like? You can't beat that Irish stout, about 8.5%. But again, Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square, Collierville, Tennessee. Check them out, hewlettanddunn.com. Charles Hall and his wife, Laura, and Raven, and everybody out there will make it a lot of fun. It's like going back in time. They got the Rock Mount shirts. Got a big picture of Ronald Reagan by the front door. Reagan, Bob Dylan, and Elvis all wore rock. Well, Bob Dylan still does wear Rock Mount shirts, but they've got the coolest boots, Stetson, Pendleton, Schaefer. This is a new line he's just brought in. Good God almighty. Check them out, hewlettanddunn.com. All right.
Great people. You got Ronald Reagan's picture framed. You're good people. I'll do business with you. The greatest president we ever did see. And let me tell you something. The first president I ever did a vote for when I was 20 years old in 1980. And boy, could we use him friggin' right now.
Right now.
You ain't
That's for Weinberger. Just bring the whole gang back.
Man, no kidding.
Yeah,
I love the line Danny DeVito said in Romancing the Stone. We'll be all over you like Cap Weinberger in a plaid suit.
Hey, Rob, I'm on a short leash. I got to get ready for tailgating. Y'all have a great day, man.
All right.
Are you heading over to the Plains?
Yeah, we'll go over
give us a score.
Take in all the sights and sounds.
Go to hell, Ole Miss.
All right, Doug. Yeah, we'll be down there next week. We'll see you down there next week. Thanks for being on here with us. Y'all have a safe trip down there.
Y'all take care.
Have fun, buddy.
You too.
While we're on the 12-team playoff and thinking about baseball, why not reduce the Major League Baseball season from 162 to 154 games? Give us another week. Have the wild card thing be a 5-game series versus a 3-game series. Have the division round be 7 games. The championship round and the World Series all 7 games. The 7-game series, in my opinion, is so much more compelling.
Yeah.
It reward a 3-game series is BS. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's too easy to jury rig that one. I don't like a 5-game series. It's baseball. You need 7 games to really determine the best team, in my opinion.
And I might be having heresy on this, but they have got to redo this the way that this is done and not have top teams have that long period off, that 4 or 5 days off. It absolutely hurts those that have the best season. And look, I don't want to cry foul as a Braves fan, but there has to be, even if we got to add on 2 more teams to come in, in the playoff, let that team have to let them play a weaker opponent in a maybe a 5-game series leading up to, and I am perfectly fine with shortening the season a week or even 2 to do that. You don't need 162 games. 150 is way more than enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Totally agree.
that's an understatement.
Totally
Yeah,
agree.
totally agree with you on that. All right. When we look, guys, and we talked about this a minute ago, and I'm hoping Chef Roger can get through. He's trying to break away from where he is. But another one of I've got William Halliday, our intern. He'll be on with us Monday morning. But Billy Ray Valentine. Oakley McFerrin's going to join us in Chattanooga. They're about to head down to Auburn for that game. He plays for NBA. They played at Chattanooga Baylor last night, and going to get him. I like to bring the teenage crowd. We've got the 20s. We've got, of course, kids in that age group. We got our listening audience. We looked at the demographics. We have a lot of people in their teens and 20s. Of course, my kids are in their 20s and early 30s, but they love these games. They love college football because you think about it. How many business deals do you think were consummated down on the Bayou last week, Auburn versus LSU? How many relationships will be rekindled when the governor of Louisiana, who is a graduate of, I believe, West Point, will be there?
Class of 88.
Yeah, class of 88. Wow, me too, but not from West Point.
My daughter's boss, who works at the governor's mansion. She works for John Bell.
Yeah, and it'll be
class
a
of
big
88.
deal.
The class of 88 at West Point is having their reunion this weekend down in Baton Rouge, and the governor is hosting them. I think
That's awesome.
Kicks off at 11 local time.
It'll be a huge day, and I know Doug, I say has to, what a terrible task, leave beautiful Lake Martin and head to tailgating on the plains. I mean, who wouldn't want to be there? I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, and we're doing a lot of picking of these games, and I just checked with MJ. J. Rodney Scroggins Jr. III is buck naked up on that billboard over in Levesque, Arkansas, up on Crowley's Ridge, and he hasn't even had a pork rind or a piece of brisket in 6 weeks. Hogs have got to win today, or this guy's going to just blow away.
Yeah,
so,
he better hook that harness on tight, man. A big wind's going to take him off.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's take a great a sponsor break from one of our sponsors, Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Proud to have them as a sponsor. Honored too. They're doing great work, God. And we'll be right back with Savant Saturday. I love this.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am R.A. Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
You're correct. People are trying to figure out, Dave, MJ Michael Jordan, William Michael Jordan. Yeah, he is the original Michael Jordan, is over here. We all are members of the Cherry Farm Hunting Club, established in 1846. Now, he made a good point. He said, y'all need to trademark Savant Saturday. I said, well, Dave Tompkins over in Beaufort, South Carolina came up with it, but we had Doug on. We had Billy's a savant. Frank is. It's savantism, man. And so I'm listening to this broadcast the other day of a football game, Memphis and Tulane, and one of the play-by-play guys, the color man on the network, called the sideline reporter an idiot savant. And the other guy was like, "Oh, what are you doing calling him an idiot?" I'm like, "Look, my dad calls me an idiot savant all the time, and there's nothing I can do about it." But it just means, as he says, you got a vast storehouse of knowledge in that head. You need to learn how to monetize it.
None of it's useful.
None of it's useless. It's useful though. He said,
my My wife has always said the amount of knowledge you have in your head that doesn't make me $1 is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, okay, here we are. And there's a lot. God, there's a lot of stuff coming in here. We talked about Tennessee and Alabama, Arkansas and Mississippi State today. I coaching malpractice. We hear that term used sometime. That's what happened at Mississippi State this year. Zach Arnett, I liked him as a defensive coordinator. Yeah. But, just because you don't want to be like, I'm not going to do what Mike Leach did. Well, it won 9 games last year.
Right.
The air raid, if you don't have great talent, the air raid gives you a chance to compete against anybody, gentlemen. I feel for Will Rogers, out of Rankin, Mississippi. Hell of a quarterback. He's a team player, a coach's son, but he's got to be feeling a little bit of frustration. Both of y'all, your thoughts on Mississippi State's situation?
Mississippi State to me has always been a feel-good place, whether it's in football or basketball. They're in the SEC, and I'm pulling against them when Alabama plays them. But I've always wanted Mississippi State to be good because it seems like a lot of really, really good folks, just nice people. Starkville, just a proud place. And I want that football team to be relevant. And I was so happy when Mike Leach was there, when he could, beat some people that Mississippi State normally couldn't beat. And I would love to see a return for that. I remember when I was a junior in high school and Alabama was undefeated, and we went to Starkville and lost 6-3. And that was probably the only loss that I didn't go back to my room and cry, because I'm like, well, good for Mississippi State. They're so happy, and I don't know. I'm kind of a sucker for them, I guess.
And I'm giving Mississippi State a pass this year. Whatever happens this year, when you have something like Mike Leach passing away right before the bowl game last year, whatever, God bless them, whatever they have to do, however they make it through it, they get a pass. Arnett should get another crack at it next year, fresh start. Now, next year's a different story. You got to do what's best for the program, and you will be judged on the results. But this year, total pass in my book.
I think that you got a quarterback that's been in a system for 3 years and he's in his last year. You keep him in that system. That's just my take. And Zach Arnett, I like him though. I like his toughness. That's just my opinion. All right, here's a good one. A good point being made, gentlemen. You ready for this one? Boxcar Willie in Lambert, Mississippi. That's down in the Delta. Woo-hoo! Mule train, roll on. He says the lane train will be blowing through Auburn tonight. Y'all remember Boxcar Willie? Michael Jordan, my good friend here, has all of his albums. He was actually a roadie for 3 years before he got married for Boxcar Willie, and I used to travel around the country with him as part of his entourage. But do y'all think that's going to happen? I mean, it's getting kind of crazy. Now speaking of crazy, we're going to bring in a bedhead right now, Oakley McFerrin from over in Chattanooga. Here, Oakley, now he looks rather scholarly. Where are you right now?
We in a library?
Yeah, yes, aren't you? In the library doing a little extra studying? You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you. Yeah, they hit the mute button. There you go. Okay. All right. You there now? Okay. Holy cow. Looks like he's falling down.
It's really scary when the 60-year-olds are giving the 20-year-olds some technological help.
Yeah. Oakley, let's try this one again. Oakley, live from Chattanooga. Take 2. You ready? Okay. Take it off that mute button. Can you do it? Yeah. Yeah. He's got it. Whoop. Hold on a second. Whoops. I took him. Actually, come back to us, Oakley. But he may have had it on mute. But the bottom line is Boxcar Willie in Lambert, Mississippi. That's between Marks and Vance on Highway 3. I hunt in Lambert. I got a little farm, lifetime hunting rights on down there next to the O'Keefe Wildlife Management area. And there's this place that we always see in Lambert. We've never understood what it is. It's colored purple outside the building. It's called the Nubian Social Club. I have no idea what goes on in there, but there are listen to this. There are two things. If you drive down Highway 3 in the Mississippi Delta, when you go into a convenience store, if you're hungry, you'll obviously want a cold beer, but you want a Cool Lickle and a Listener. If either one of y'all can tell me what those two are, I will buy you a steamer pack of Crystals.
Frozen pickle juice.
That's right.
You've
Frozen
now gone
pickle
to the
juice.
next dimension of Savant Saturday.
Yeah.
Highway
Cool Lickle is frozen pickle juice in the shape of a popsicle. And then, you know what? Somebody tell me what a Listener is.
That I don't know.
Are you ready for this? A listener is a pig ear sandwich on white bread with barbecue sauce. Woo. That sounds good, doesn't it?
It does.
Hey,
do you toast the bread, or is it just this Wonder Bread white?
Just good old white bread.
Hey, look, us Louisiana boys do couchon delays all the time. We do pig roast, put them in the ground, put coals on them. But I assure you one thing, there's too much of that pig that's much better than that ear to be putting out on white bread and barbecue sauce.
Well, but you know what? And that's what some people like it, some people don't. But MJ said there's nothing better than a tall 40-ounce Schlitz beer in a paper sack, eating a Listener, dripping with barbecue sauce on white bread with some white beans. Man, that's
too close to pig knuckles or pig feet with the jelly hanging off of it.
Yeah, and speaking of that, many a night, guys.
In Columbus, Ohio, in the Penn State-Ohio State game.
Yeah, I bet. I tell you one thing else. I bet they'll be eating a lot of those up there. All right, looking at all these games today, this is fun, man. It's Savant Saturday, and we are talking about there are a lot of really good games, and this. I mean, you've got three teams in the Big Ten, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, all in the top 10. Yeah. You've got one team, Georgia, in the top 10. The lack of elite quarterbacks in the SEC this year, right now, one player has moved into that elite quarterback category, and that would be Peyton Thorne of Auburn. No, I'm kidding. No, that would be Jaden Daniels of LSU. He is playing out of his mind. And I would definitely have him on my Heisman watch list, guys.
For sure.
He needs to be in New York. There's no doubt about it. For what the kid's done. And considering our defense was playing so poorly, we'd have more than 2 losses if it wasn't for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. I think he's going to, at my team's expense, I think he's going to have a 500-yard night tonight. I think he wants to. I mean, this is his opportunity to have some highlights and some stats to present to the Heisman Committee. And I'm sorry it's going to be at our expense, but I foresee a huge night tonight.
Well, when you look around at LSU, and this is what gets me, there's so much talent there on that roster. It's just hurting everybody together.
Correct.
And I think Curtis McGriff is temporarily stepped back. He's one of Auburn's defensive secondary coaches. I would imagine
Alabama player number 96.
Well, no. This is I'm sorry, not Curtis McGriff. It's Crime Dog, the coach at Auburn. Yeah, not that. No, but it's. I think those Auburn coaches. I would not want to be in those team meetings right now after you get beat 48-18, and it just looked like the effort really wasn't there. That was a tough loss. Auburn in the last week. They've been pushed into a corner, and if they've got anything,
it's a big game for Freeze. It's a big game for Freeze.
It's just it looks like to me that Auburn's going to have to come out tonight believing this is it. I mean, this is Hugh Freeze's first year. He's got time. But I like a team at home to bet on them as a dog that's desperate. Auburn has not lost three straight SEC games since 2012. Remember what happened in 2013? Auburn played for the national championship, and Gus Malzahn and his shadow were the only two people in the Rose Bowl who didn't think Florida State was going to, fake the punt there at midfield when Auburn had a 21-3 lead with 4 minutes and 24 seconds to go in the first half. And they did. And ended up scoring 21-10, changed the tempo of that game. When you got people down on the ground, cut their head off. Don't just cut their neck.
Well,
cut their head off.
When that fake occurred, he was actually trying to compete with Spalding, and that's what really happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. The bottom line is, you just sit there and you look at a team. I like Auburn to cover today, plus 6.5 at home. But again, if that means the defense plays really, really well and gets Ole Miss out of their comfort zone. If Auburn can't slow the game down, a modicum of slowness, a small amount, and they get into a boat race with Ole Miss,
it'd be bad.
Same thing's going to happen as what happened against LSU last week. So I'm saying Auburn can cover if they can control tempo. And you go back even 2 years ago, a ranked Ole Miss team came to Auburn, and Potato Boy Brian Hartson was there, and Auburn still won that game convincingly. So I think that one is. But
I think the referendum on Hugh Freeze is at some point this season and before the Iron Bowl, Auburn has to find an identity. What is Auburn football? And I think that's the referendum on Hugh Freeze.
Yeah. And I will tell you, Auburn could not contain Jaden Daniels because he's that good, but they have to put pressure on Jackson Dart tonight. They have got to put pressure on him because if he's got time, he can hit receivers. They've got to win the defensive line. Auburn's defensive line has to beat Ole Miss's offensive line, and they must win the turnover battle. If they give up the ball, if Auburn gives up the ball a couple times, Ole Miss could steamroll them. If Auburn if Auburn's up a turnover or two, and you get that crowd into it, I think Auburn can hang with them, and I think Auburn can upset Ole Miss. I really do.
And I think if Auburn finds its identity tonight, if it happens tonight, I get real scared about the Iron Bowl then as an Alabama fan. Because it's at Jordan-Hare, and I think once Auburn gets some mojo, they're going to start to get some momentum.
Yeah, and is it going to be Peyton Thorne looks lost down here. Auburn's receivers, I question if they have fingers. I mean, they can't catch. And Robbie Ashford, he has a history with Lane Kiffin. They recruited him hard to Ole Miss. He played a hell of a game against them last year in Auburn's losing effort in Oxford. Be a one to watch on. Now, let's go back. And I'm at Frank. LSU talent is just overcoming. They played, 7 straight games. 7 straight games. And I just look at the mental makeup of teams. I'm going to go back now to Alabama hosting Tennessee. The game last year, when you beat Alabama under Nick Saban, it's epic. I mean, it is, and that's what Gary Harris said to me, Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa, WVUA TV 23. Catch him and Rodney Orr in this not so shameless plug, Tuesday nights at 6:30 p.m. Central. Tider Insider TV. Folks, it's really good. If you're a Bama fan or not, obviously Dave Tompkins watches it, but it's a great show. And he says it's epic. It takes so much out of a team to beat Alabama. Tennessee, here's a stat that kind of concerns me. Look at the average per completion for Joe Milton compared to Hendon Hooker last year.
Yeah.
Hendon Hooker was a stud.
Yeah.
Joe Milton, he's in his 4th year. or 5th. God, with the virus, some of these guys have been here 10 years. Major Ogilvy syndrome. There goes Stedman Chile, brought to you by Bromberg
Major
Jewelers.
Ogilvy from Mountain Brook, Alabama, but he actually grew up in Vestavia Hills.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Coach Bryant would be proud to know where he grew up there because he lived close to a Bromberg Jewelers. But here's the thing. I'm going to throw it at y'all. You look at Tennessee, Joe Milton. If he can't throw the intermediate and the short-term passes with a lot of success now, then win. And you are who you are.
Defense. Yeah. Alabama's strong suit on defense. If Tennessee doesn't stretch the field tonight, it's going to be a long night. Alabama's going to beat them good.
Well, and this is another one. Kevin Steele. Okay, you know, I have a lot of faith in him. Who was the first assistant coach Nick Saban hired when he got to Alabama? It was Kevin Steele.
Right.
Why? Because he's from Gordo, 20 minutes away. Now, he wasn't at Gordo at the time. A little bit of trivia for Savant Saturday. Gary Harris told us about this Thursday. What high school rivalry in Alabama is nicknamed the 8 Mile War?
Oh, boy. I should know that, being from Birmingham.
Come on. The clock is ticking.
At Mountain Brook, our rivalry was Vestavia, but that's not it. That's about 4 miles.
Yeah.
Jackson Olin, I don't. You got me. I've been out savanted.
The 8. Now this is because Gary told it to me. The 8 Mile War. Okay. The 8 Mile War is Gordo and Reform.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's, everybody knew that. Look, I think, but I mean, I will say Kevin Steele, his defense, they will get after. You know what his, I guess, line of thought is, his mentality is, don't wait for adversity to be in your lap, just land in your lap. You be their adversity. Get after their. The decorum prohibits me listing such words, but that's what you like. That's why we don't need to have tape recorders in locker rooms. That is special what is said. Just like your first time you communicated with your drill sergeant in basic training, Dave Tompkins. I'm sure he said, "Welcome to the academy. We're glad to have you." I'm sure it was just like that. Yes.
We're July 1st, 1981. We're so happy to have you here. Have a seat.
Have a seat.
Many of a wedding happened on those yellow footsteps, didn't it?
Exactly.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
8 miles. That's about 8 miles is about the same distance between the Dean Dome and Cameron Indoor. Another reason to go for Florida State, because Duke basketball practices started, and so they've lost all their fan base. It's like, all right, screw it. Football's basketball. It's basketball season now.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of basketball, I'm not dropping any big news like Buddy dropped when he was wearing Florida State gear. But if you've noticed, I got Georgia Tech gear on sitting here today. I am going to be auditioning to be the voice of McCamish Pavilion on Wednesday.
Oh, good luck.
Oh,
Bobby Cremens.
I'm Cremens Court. I'm one of the finalists for the PA announcers gig.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to be auditioning on Wednesday. Y'all keep your fingers crossed for me.
Remember Lethal Weapon 3? I made the Final Four. Kenny Anderson. Yeah. Scott.
Well, wait a minute. Shooter. Well, here's the question. I got to ask you now, Frank, aren't you going to be doing some PA announcing for some Auburn games?
Yes.
You're on the list.
I've been hired by Auburn as a fill-in when they need it.
Consultant.
I've yet gotten the call from them, but I'm actually informally on Auburn's PA role, and I'm also on South Florida's PA role if they have a need short term. But I would love, of course, if I could become a permanent fixture at Georgia Tech, obviously living here in Atlanta, football, basketball, baseball, volleyball, you name it, track, swimming. I just love doing PA work and would be happy to do any of it. But I think this one, though they haven't specifically said, I think this is going to be for basketball, men's basketball. At least that's what the sample script I've got in my for my audition is.
The old Alabama PA announcer, Ogilvy at right tackle, play made 55 yards, good for the touchdown.
That's right. That's right.
Have y'all heard of Big Tex at the Texas State Fair?
Yeah.
All right. We have a few words from Big Tex. This was sent to me. You got to hear him.
We have a promotion. Eat one turkey leg and leave 12 oil slicks throughout the midway. All right. Speaking of food, the State Fair is the only place where you can eat 12,000 calories in less than 23 seconds with our new menu item, deep fried butter.
Wow, that sounds rich. Yeah, you can wash that off, though.
Where we take a stick of butter, deep fry it, then butter it, and deep fry it again in Oreo-flavored pure animal grease.
Wow.
There you go.
Sprinkle it with chili powder and drench it in queso. And douse it with whipped cream and jalapenos. And serve it with a wedding cake and an auxiliary stick of butter.
That sums up Texas perfectly. That sums up Texas perfectly. The only thing that Big Tex didn't say was park's closed, moose outside, should have told you.
Park's closed, moose outside, should have told you. Hey, you know, we found out yesterday, our audience, our viewers were very blessed. Dave Cody, longtime sports anchor, my good friend out in Bellingham, Washington, in Austin, he said in 2012, Big Tex burned. Big Tex is like 70 feet tall. And Bo Carter from Dallas was on the Friday Writers Roundtable and with Yancey Porter and me in the second hour. And Ken Capps normally joins us, who's a Texas grad writer, FWAA. He said, when Big Tex burned in 2012, 70 feet tall, Bo said a local funeral home had a funeral service for only in Texas could they do this. But Big Tex is, as my kids say, ginormous. But you know what? This is the cool thing about it. This is Saturday Roundtable. Oakley McFerrin tried to join us. He's at the airport. They're about to bolt down to Auburn, and wish I was going with them. We had to stay up here. God, I'm going to be down there next week for the Auburn Mississippi State game, but we'll get Oakley on next week. Technical difficulties. Both, I think, and Doug said this, Billy Roberts briefly when he was on, but we had, you know, the enthusiasm and the passion for college football. Freddie Fender in Corpus Christi, Texas. Hook 'em horns. Yeah, Freddie. And by the way, Freddie's a Hall of Fame country singer. You know, I mean, he really was special. Do y'all remember Freddie Fender? Vaya con Dios, my darling. He had a voice. But,
a poor man's Marty Robbins.
There you go.
He probably appeared on Hee Haw beside the Hager brothers.
That's right.
Man, I almost spilled coffee there. That was a good. Thinking about Hee Haw, Junior Samples, that's BR549. I loved old Junior. I don't know who he pulled for, but he pulled for somebody. I guarantee it.
One of Sean, when Sean was playing middle school high school football, his coach Roger McDaniel, his wife was one of the Hee Haw honeys.
Oh wow!
McDaniel, wow. In fact, she actually dated Elvis. There are pictures of her and Elvis before she met, Mr. McDaniel. She had dated Elvis in like the early 70s, late 60s. So that's funny. She Buck Owens and Roy Clark and Goober and was friends with all of them and said they were just the people. Yeah, Buck Owens. Yep.
And think about this. Savant Saturday will leave you with this before we sign off. Who were two country music legend icons, from Bakersfield, California. That's where Interstate 40 meets what? I-5 or I-10?
I-5. I-5, yep.
Yeah.
John Fogerty was one, wasn't he? Wasn't Fogerty of Bakersfield? I know Buck Owens was, but Fogerty.
Who's the other one? Let me give you a hint. He played one of the greatest characters in the history of portraying a white trash alcoholic, Doyle Hardgraves, in the movie Kingpin.
Dwight Yoakam.
Dwight Yoakam. That was one of the greatest roles ever played. I mean, but Dwight Yoakam, and they played Dixie When I Died, and Buck Owens was like a mentor to him. That's what I mean. You talk about two of the best ever. All right. Our consensus picks: Alabama, Tennessee. We like Alabama to cover at home.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. I changed my mind just to go with the flow.
Yeah. Florida State to cover -14 at home against Duke.
It's already basketball season in Durham.
Yep. Florida State's going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I just checked on recruiting. Duke signed 2 of the top 4 players in basketball in California.
Right.
Good God. I mean, they ain't going anywhere.
And John Shire just got a 6-year extension.
The University of New Jersey at Durham is alive and well.
They are.
Okay?
Yep.
That's exactly what it is.
All right, let me say this, guys. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. We're on with one of them right here, Dave Tompkins, U.S. Armed Forces, West Point graduate, served his 5 years over in Europe, deploying Pershing missiles in a forward area. Thank you for your service, as always, Dave. Think about that today when Air Force and Navy play. My good friend Tim Horton, who's one of the finest people I know, is running backs coach for Air Force Academy. He'll be out there. And Army, West Point plays at LSU. But just remember, go out, make a positive difference. Everything you do, can say, do, whatever, helps make a positive difference. But just remember, we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. And if you can find me, anyone that you grew up with that you know that has ever left this country to go live anywhere else, you'll be the first, because I ain't never seen it happen. It may be tough. You may be pissed off about what you do. Do yourself a favor. Don't watch the news. Listen to Sidelines. Tell your friends, family, and neighbors, and say hello to Big Tex and his deep fried butter.
And go to Highway 3 and have one of those sandwiches.
And you will see Army's welcome to vaunted Tiger Stadium tonight on ESPN's Top 10 Plays. You watch.
Yeah,
it's Saturday night in Death Valley.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you know what the greatest asset we have in the South and in America is what the Constitution says. We the people. We have the greatest people in the world. Just remember that. Everybody have a great day. We'll do this again Monday morning. Got a great lineup. Thanks to all of our sponsors, our listeners, and our viewers. Have a great one. We are out of here.
Thank you.